In this video, we're going to have a short discussion about the tech stack that we're going to use for our campaign or crowdcoin, I guess is what we're going to call it now, application. In previous videos, when we worked on our lottery application, we had used Create React App, right? We used that tool to generate a new React project. That gave us a place where we could write some React components, we could install some third-party modules like the Web3 library, and then we could get some content to appear in our user's browser. Create React App is really a tool for making a rather simple or straightforward React application. Certainly, we could use it to make more complex stuff, but out of the box, it's really about just helping you get started with a simple boilerplate setup. Now, the downside to Create React App is that out of the box, it doesn't really include anything to help you with navigation, like showing different pages to a user. And it doesn't really have anything out of the box to help you with data loading or all these other tools as well. So Create React App is great. It's a great place to get started, but what we're building needs something a little bit more full-featured. So rather than using Create React App, we're going to use a slightly different tool to start up our project. So you and I are going to be using something called Next.js. Next.js is a framework that wraps up React. Remember, React is all about showing content or HTML to a user. Next.js takes React and builds a bunch of functionality around it. A lot of fancy features are included with Next.js right out of the box, so we don't have to do any additional setup to get these other features working. And these are features like routing. And when I say routing, I'm talking about showing multiple pages to a user, like taking a URL and deciding based on that what content we should show to the user. It also has built-in support for server-side rendering, which is something that we'll talk about in a little bit. And this is something that is very, very relevant for an Ethereum application. And again, we'll talk about exactly why that is. And then finally, as part of the developer experience, it has something called hot module reload, which basically means that it will just update code inside of your application a little bit more easily. And it's really just something that is about the developer experience. At the end of the day, Next is something that we can use to make a React application that has great support for showing multiple pages to a user. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, right? We want to make one web page that shows a list of our campaigns. We want a page for creating a campaign. We want a different page for details, and so on. We want different pages for each of those different features. And so Next.js makes that really easy to put together. And as soon as we install Next.js, I'll give you a very quick demonstration that makes it very clear exactly why it's so easy to get started with multi-page applications. Now, I'm not going to show you too much of the Next.js documentation directly. I do want you to know that at any point in time, you can always go and refer to the documentation if you want to get a better idea of how something works. You can pull up the documentation by just doing a Google search for Next.js, and you're going to be looking for its GitHub repository. So for me, it's the first result here. For you, it might be a little bit later on down. But basically, if you go to the repo, right on this front page, you can scroll down, and it's got a tremendous number of resources to help you understand about exactly how all these different things work. So of course, as we start using this, I'm going to be telling you exactly what every single line of code does. But again, if you want to get a little bit more information about anything that's going on, feel free to pop over here and read about the documentation a little bit. All right, so again, we're going to be using Next.js. When I built this application, like before I made this course, before I recorded this video, just so you know, I built this application very much like the lottery app. I built it like 4 times with 4 different tech stacks. I used Create React App, I used vanilla HTML, I used Next.js, and I don't know, I did some other variation as well. And so I built this app 4 times, and I took 4 different approaches. And I found that using Next.js was by far the easiest and most direct approach. And it made working with the Ethereum side of our application really easy and straightforward. So I'm not picking Next here just to use like some arbitrarily fancy framework or anything like that. I really truly believe that this is one of the best approaches for building an Ethereum application. So there is some reasoning behind this. Anyways, let's take a quick pause right now. We're going to come back to the next video and we're going to start setting up Next inside of our application.